We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah. Happy Monday. We are back, and today we have a very special guest. He might be the ultimate morning hype man across the entire internet. If you are part of the 5 a.m. club, you might know who we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Today's guest has one of the most engaging communities on the internet. He is the host of Breakfast with Champions on Clubhouse and of the morning show Rise and Grind, which has over 800 episodes. Complete madness, guys. That is insane. He has been featured in ABC, NBC, CBS, and probably any other network that has a C in their name, like CIP, aka Content is Profit. Coincidence much?
That's right, guys. He also has grown a dealership 800%, raised over $800,000 and more for a nonprofit. But most importantly, he is an incredible father of 8 children. Feeling that this might be the favorite number.
Yeah, I'm feeling number 8 might be his favorite number, right? And guess what? This is episode 161. That, if we sum the digits, 1 + 6 + 1, guess what? Is number 8. Is that
what's
and I'm just gonna throw this out there. We actually rescheduled the first time we're gonna bring him on the show for him to land on episode 161. Hey, I think it's something that we needed to, put a pin on.
Yes.
And I actually Googled the meaning of number 8.
Oh.
And it means infinity, right?
Oh, baby,
so
let's
is
go.
this going to be an infinite relationship, the one we're building here today?
Oh, baby, let's
We
go.
will see. Either way, please welcome host of Rise and Grind, host of Breakfast with Champions, and the ultimate internet hype man, Glenn Lundy. What's up, Glenn?
What up? My goodness, you guys are fantastic, man. Super excited to be here with you this morning. I do have to make one quick correction, though, because you said he might be the number 1 hype man in the morning. I am the number 1 hype man in the morning. Ain't no might be about it, brother. It's me.
Yes, I love it. And that is the confidence we're looking for. Let's go.
Dude, Glenn, we're extremely excited to have you here on the show. We've been following for quite a bit, and like we mentioned in there, Marley was the introduction to your world, and I'm like, wow, the energy, the community that you guys have been able to build, it's so good. So how this like morning 5 a.m. like streaming like / business, was the streaming first? Was the business first? Your entrepreneurial story, like how did it all start?
So check it out, man. I was in the automotive world, kicking butt, taking names. We grew this dealership in this small town 800% over a period of 6 years. And part of the way we were able to grow that dealership was utilizing social media. And so I was on social media every day, creating content, engaging people. And it was working from a marketing side. There was a dark side, though. Because every single time I was on social media, I was seeing like shootings and division and racism and politics and all of this stuff. And so it was interesting, man. I hit this point where I was really frustrated with the internet. I was like, golly, it's so dang negative. Why's it got to be so negative up in here? This is crazy. And so what I've learned in my life, gentlemen, is that if something like really bothers you, like if it really bothers you, right? Like makes you sick to your stomach. That's God's way of saying, dude, don't just talk about it, be about it. Like go do something about it. You know what I'm saying? And so I kept getting really upset about negativity online. And I was like, all right, Glenn, let's just create a space. We cannot fix all the division and crazy and negative online, but let's create a space, a small little tiny corner of the internet that'll be nothing but motivation, education, and inspiration. There'll never be anything negative. There'll be no news. There'll be no division. There'll be no politics, no racism, none of that. And so I was like, okay, let's create that space. Then the business side of me was like, ooh, this could be good. Because if we can release this positivity out into the universe, that'll look good for the dealership as well. So we can draw more people in, we can attract and recruit some new hires. Like, it'll be good for the dealership's social media content on that side. And then the other part of my brain, the self-development part of my brain, was like, bro, first thing in the morning, that's when people are like the most impacted, their minds consuming the most information. So I was like, well, if we can take some positivity, mix it with a little bit of marketing, and mix it with some self-development strategies to change the way people start their day, dude, we can make a massive impact with this thing. And so I took the three pieces together, right? We started doing this show, and here's how I would start it off. I would say, my name is Glenn Lundy. I'm a husband to one, a father to, back then it was like 5, and then 6, and then 7, and then 8, right? But I'm a husband to one, a father to 5. The general manager of Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick in Paris, Kentucky, the second largest used car franchise dealership in America. It's 5:30 a.m. and I hope you're ready to rise and grind. And so I started every episode that same way, just marketing. That was the hook. That was the jingle, right? And so people started saying, yeah, Dan Cummins Chevrolet, the number 2, dealership in America. Good morning. And over time, man, it just blew up, bro. It became the show. People started following the show, and then they wanted a group, so we created a group, and then they wanted t-shirts, so we started creating t-shirts, and then they wanted planners, so we started making planners, and then they wanted coffee, we started doing coffee, and then they wanted like offsite events, we started doing offsite events, and a business was literally created around just a little positivity in the morning, man. Pretty crazy, right?
Wow. I love it. I love how it all like start fitting itself. I love how you discovered it. I love that what you said about like when you have that feeling in your gut, that's when you need to go for it. I think a lot of people sometimes, many times actually, get that feeling in their gut, but then they're like, is the opposite. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do anything, right? I think people take signals in a very different way. Has it been like that for you all your life? Has it been where you feel that something in your gut and you're like, let me attack it? Or was there a moment in your life where that perspective changed for you?
Yeah, man. I used to live what I call a 2D life, right? Mind and body. If it looked good and it felt good, the answer was yes. If it looked bad and it felt bad, the answer was no. It was simple as that, right? And that's the way I used to live my life. And ultimately living my life that way led me to burning a lot of bridges, taking advantage of a lot of people. I was a liar. I was a cheat. I was a thief. I was in and out of jail. And ultimately I ended up homeless on the streets of San Diego, living this 2-dimensional life, right? Mind and body. And so in that season of my life, if I had a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach, right, like I associated that with something bad's going to happen. I'm a victim in this world, so on and so forth. I had this very physical reaction to those types of things. So it wasn't until I got out of that season of life and I actually realized that we are 3-dimensional, not 2-dimensional, mind, body, and spirit. So if it looks good and it feels good and it is good, now the answer is yes. If it looks good, feels good, but it's not good, the answer is no. And so once I was able to really tap into the spiritual side of myself and understand, the third dimension to this thing called life, that's when I started to understand that gut feeling can be interpreted. That's your soul. And it can be guiding you in a direction, pulling you out of the despair, pulling you out of the pits, pulling you away from an opportunity for you to be a victim, and instead leading you to the places where you can be a victor. So now I listen to my intuition. I listen to my gut a lot more than I used to. I don't just assume it's something bad or negative. Instead, I look at it and go, okay, where's the spirit trying to lead me today? And if it sticks, bro, I lean in.
I love it.
I wanted to steal something too at the marketer level, on the business side of things. You mentioned it. I mean, you started and you mentioned that gut feeling, right? It felt good. Like, this is what I need to do. for the people around me, right? Like we all have been in that dark hole of social media, of content, or different things, right? And it's a shame that it's so loud, right? But it's also a blessing that there's so many people taking action against that and creating their positive footprint in the internet, right? But after that, you started gathering this incredible community of action takers and people that want to take on the world and share your message, right? And then they started requesting different things, right? And we talk about this on the show and be like, what are the solutions that they might want or need, or like to elevate their day, to elevate, the impact that they're creating. And you mentioned t-shirts, coffee, planners. I see you, I hear you read this quote every single day from one of the people that submitted their quotes for the planners. I thought that was wonderful, right? You also brought that experience into the community, and I'm sure those people like feel so good, right? And they're gonna be with you till the end of days, right? And not just them, but the people that are actually using that vehicle, that planner to move their day along. So on the business side of things, right? Like when we say content is profit, there's many layers to that, right? And this is something that we need to do as a business, right? Like we need to listen to our audience. We need to listen to the people that we serve to help them serve better, right? Like recently we went through this transformational moment in our business, right? Like after a year of craziness, and for us it meant everything, because the show started. We started developing that community aspect, and we started serving. We started listening to the people that were coming in, and we started implementing, and that's wonderful. So a lot of people that come in, they're like, my thing. Well, what about them, right? What's in it for them? That's something that FONZI says all the time, and you execute it perfectly, right? Like, and it's moving forward, and I'm sure there's like little hiccups here and there, but I'm sure your community comes out and lends you a hand many times. Now, for reference, how long have you been doing it? We mentioned 800 episodes, right? Like, and for one of the shows, 72 plus for the other one, right? Like, how long have you been doing this, right? Because we want to bring this into perspective for people that are trying to tackle this thing.
The first episode of Hashtag Rise and Grind was on January 6th of 2018. So we're 3 years and 3 months in. We've done 856 episodes as of this morning. Every day, Monday through Friday, 5:30 a.m. Crazy.
Incredible. I love for a second there, I thought you were gonna say 8 years, since we're on the topic of number 8, but it's okay. I mean, I think 3 years make it even more impressive. And for me, the impressive part is the commitment, man. The commitment that you've done to show up every single day for these people, right? And a lot of times when we're talking to the people that we're trying to help, we're like, you need to look for accountability, right? For me, the best courses online, the best masterminds are the ones that offer the best support and accountability, right? They could have the best content in the world, but if they're not helping people take action, it's not the best course in the world, right? And you offer that every single day at 5:30 in the morning. How did that thought came about? How did you used to wake up at 5:30 before, or you were like, you know what, I'm also going to use this community to hold me accountable to get up early as well and rise and grind?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, but really the time. So once I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a show. I'm going to do it every day. It's going to be motivation, education, inspiration, right? I'm going to do it every day, Monday through Friday. And then I was like, okay, so what time can I make sure that I'm not going to be anywhere? Like, I'm not going to have any appointments. Like, it has to be a time that I could commit, right? A lot of times people are like, I'm going to do a show at 11 a.m. every single day. Dude, by 11 a.m., are you kidding me? You got doctor's appointments. The whole world's coming at you. Like, there's so many things that get in the way. So I was like, okay, maybe we could do 7 a.m., right? That'd be good. 7 a.m. I got to be working at 8:30. And then I was like, wait, my kids are already up at 7 a.m. I got a lot of kids. There ain't no way that's going to happen. So I was like, well, maybe I could do 6:30. And I was like, no, the wife's up at 6:30. I start getting emails from my employees. Like, that's not going to work. And I was like, what about 6 o'clock? I was trying to talk myself into any kind of later time. And ultimately I ended up backing down to like 5:30 was the only time that I knew for a fact I would not have any appointments. My employees wouldn't be bothering me yet or reaching out for help in any way. My kids weren't going to be rocking and rolling. My wife wasn't going to be up. So it was the only time that I could commit to. So episode 1, I woke up at like 5:26 a.m., right? And I'm like, 5:30, I got like the lights on. I'm in this little tiny utility closet. I set the camera up. The water heater's behind the camera. You can't see the water heater. And I put some sound stuff on the back so it looks like I was up. And then I put this chalkboard right here. This was my chalkboard. So utility closet, 6 feet wide, 8 feet long, and me. And the lights are on, and I'm like, it's so bright. What is this? This is crazy. I can't do it. Right? Like it was nuts. Episode 1, and then there was episode 2, and then episode 5, and then episode 10, and I started waking up at 5:15 instead of 5:26, and then I started getting feedback from people that it was making a difference, and so I started waking up at 5 o'clock instead of 5:15, and I started like creating some structure to it and making sure there was a rhythm and that it kind of flowed and that we hit certain points and making sure to engage the audience and really give them an experience. And then the production side started to come in with better cameras and better music. And then I had to start getting up at 4:45, and then it was 4:30, and then it was 4:15, and then it was 4 o'clock. And now I get up at 3:20 a.m. every day. I spend the first 30 minutes of the day in writing down my gratitude and my goals, like taking care of myself foundationally. And then at about 3:50, I write the words "Good morning" on a pad of paper. I've got 100 of them, little books just like this, and I just write the words "Good morning" at the top, which you can see I can open to just about any page.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Wow.
I write, and as soon as I write the words "Good morning," I literally just pause and I look up. I don't know if you guys are faithful people or not. I am. And I look up and I say, okay, what's the message today? Yeah. And then I write from 3:50 a.m. till 4:20 a.m. I write. And then at 4:20, I pack up my backpack. I jump in my truck and I drive over to I leave the house at 4:30 and I drive to my now studio, which is, quite a bit different than the utility closet.
No water heater behind the camera.
No water here. For those listening, guys, go check out the video because it's showing us the couple cameras, the setup, incredible background, and the first chalkboard, and a few other things we see there. So
we keep the chalkboard here. Now we have the big studio. We've got people that have signed the walls and multiple sound mixers and mics, and you guys know how it is because you're in the podcast world. And so I leave the house at 4:30 and I come to the big studio and I get here at 4:50, and then I go into my Wirecast and I do a full production, man. 3 cameras, B-roll, music, everything. And come 5:30, people are like, dude, how do you have all that energy at 5:30? I'm like, bro, I've already been up for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Are you kidding me? Of course I have more energy than you. You just got out of bed. I've been rocking. I'm almost ready for lunch by the time you guys get in here. Right? And so, but it's I love it, man. I love it. And so my life has been completely adjusted around it. The show holds me accountable. I hold people on the show accountable. And together we've been able to really make a dent in the universe. And I'm excited to continue to do so moving forward.
Oh, that is exciting. I do have a question. At what time do you go to sleep?
11 p.m.
You go to sleep at 11 p.m. and wake up at 3:30 every day? Wow.
Yeah, I sleep 4 hours and 20 minutes. And that's a whole nother story. I did a whole study. I learned my sleep cycles. Yeah. And once you learn your sleep cycles, it's like a superpower, bro. So my sleep cycles are 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I can do 2:10, 4:20, 6:30, or 8:40. I can do any of those and feel 100% rested. So depending on where I am in the world, sometimes I sleep a little longer, sometimes a little less. But when I'm home, it's 4 hours and 20 minutes every single night.
Wow, I'm gonna have to do one of those studies.
That's sometimes a discussion that we've had, right? Yeah. Like operationally, right? Sometimes you feel down, sometimes you don't. You're like, what? Why? And we've been learning more and more about this stuff. And
that's interesting.
To me, is six and a half. 6.5. It's where I feel like the greatest. And he's like, how can you do that?
Yeah, like I'm a deep sleeper, but maybe it's because I don't know my sleep cycles, right?
It's all about the cycles. My guess, if you're 6.5, so I'm a 6.5 too, right? That's 3 2-hour and 10-minute cycles. So all human being cycles are between 2 and 3 hours. From light sleep to deep sleep to light sleep, between 2 and 3 hours for all human beings. So if you feel great at 6:30, you would also feel great at 4 hours and 20. You would also feel great at 2 hours and 10, and you would also feel great at 8 hours and 40. Like you would feel great at any of those. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes when I'm on the West Coast and I got to do a show, I got to stay up and entertain, right? And then I get back to the hotel, I'll actually stay up later. Instead of going to bed and sleeping 3 hours because I know I'll be groggy, I'll stay up later, sleep exactly 2 hours and 10 minutes, wake up ready to go. It's freaking superpower. It's awesome.
Yes.
Wow,
I love
interesting.
it.
I'm gonna try that. I need to figure out which one's mine. I want you waking up at 3 next morning.
Here we go.
I want you to test it out right
okay,
now.
boss.
Ease into it. Ease into it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like I'm not I'm not a doctor. It's this is not advice. Anyways, dude, like, I think this is wonderful, right? Because I mean, you what you described is what we call kind of frictionless execution, right? You started your minimal viable show. How can I get it going, right? How can I move it, right? And then it evolved, right? Like you started identifying these points where you needed to pivot a little bit and make a change on your daily routine to move up a little bit, a couple hours. Right now you have a primer. That's that writing that good morning in your journal, right? And like, okay, what's coming? I'm sure like a lot of content creators out there is like, how do I come up with content, right? That's a question that we often see. Like for us, we solve that problem on content creation with interviews. We connect with incredible people and we ask questions. And then from there, that's a primer to many other things that come after, right? Sure. But that's incredible that you came up with your own system, right? So how will you, what will you advise to people that might be starting their own platforms, their own shows, their own streaming, right? To get it started off the ground. And then from there, what are the next, like maybe 1 or 2 steps that they might want to keep an eye out?
Yeah, the first thing when it comes to, if you're going to create a podcast or so on and so forth, like really take a look in the mirror and ask yourself why. Why are you creating a podcast? If you're creating a podcast because you want to make a bunch of money, dude, put it away. Don't even start. It's not that you're not going to get there just chasing the dollars. It's not how it works. If you're creating a podcast because you want to save everyone in the world, just don't. Dude, just don't. Like, seriously, like, no offense. I love you and I love your heart, but I don't need you to save me. I really don't. I don't need you to save me. I might need you to motivate me. I might need you to educate me. I might need you to inspire me, but I don't need you to save me. So the Save the World podcast deal, like, throw that out the window. Now, if you look in the mirror and you're like, you know what? I have a voice and my message that I can deliver needs to be heard. I can make an impact, a positive impact in other people's lives through my message, my experience, my story. And if that's what you feel called to do, is to let that story out in the world, dude, nothing better than podcasting, right? You can use your voice. It's easier than writing a book. Writing a book can be hard. It's easier to distribute than writing a book. It's great. So first, get pure with your heart. And if it's about you delivering the message that's been stamped on your soul, now you're getting somewhere, because that level of connection, not only of you to the content, not only will that come through to where your audience will see that it's authentic. You're not just trying to make money. You're not trying to save the whales, but you're actually connecting with you, right? Your audience will see that authenticity and it will grow. Also, that authentic connection to your story, your message, the things that's been stamped on your soul is what's going to get you through all the technical difficulties, get you through the frustration of nobody listening to your stuff for months and months and months on end, right? It's going to get you through the frustration points, because it will be so, like, it takes a level of passion to be truly successful in the podcast world. You got to create a lot of content. It takes a really long time. And so start there, look in the mirror, make sure that there's a true connection. And then, secondly, from that, just really, when it comes to creating content, right? You said a lot of people are like, what kind of content? First of all, if it's connected to your heart, you're going to find more content. Let's start there. Second of all, become a freaking student. Like, be a student. So my show, when I first started it for the first, I don't know, probably 400 episodes, it was like just daily, what are we going to talk about? Like, and I would just get a message, I talk about it. Then I was like, okay, let's do this better. Let's be more professional. Let's create a theme for the week. Now, I still like to write the show daily because I want it to be relevant where I'm at headspace in that moment. Otherwise, when I deliver it, it's flat and it's dry. So I always write the show same day. I always do that, but I have a theme for the week. So my themes are mapped out for the year, right? I do that in December of the previous year. I map out. So I've got 52 topics. Now, sometimes we change those if things change in the world, but at least I have some sort of a theme of a general idea, right?
Yeah.
But anytime I get stuck and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to write, right? Anytime I get stuck, that tells me I'm not learning. I'm not growing. I need to read more books. I need to watch more documentaries. I need to study other people that are successfully doing the things that I do. I need to be inspired myself, because ultimately we don't know what we don't know. So right now I'm on a tear, man. Like last week, we did a whole series around the Soul's Code, which was a recent book that I read. That's just this phenomenal, weird way of looking at life. The week before that, we did a whole series around the Miracle Mentality, which is Tim Story's newest bestseller. Right now, I'm reading a book called Drop the Mic by T.D. Jakes. I'm sure I'll do a whole week around that particular thing. So if you're running out of content, it's because you're not growing as a human. So read, learn, study, and the content will come. So those would be my tips 1 and 2.
Incredible. I mean, that's a secret sauce right there.
I love
no so secret sauce. I mean, it's out there, right? Like, oh, so good. Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, what you just shared, you literally gave the key to people to unlimited content, right? And it's not a coincidence. You're actually the second person that tells be a student in this podcast. The first one was Todd Brown. I don't know if you remember when he came here. He's like, be a student, and he emphasized it as much as you did, and we were like, be a student, writing a huge right here in this pen and paper. And I just wrote down the same thing, right? If you are not learning, that's when you're stuck, right? If you're stuck, it's because you're not learning. And that is so key, right? Because a lot of people just think it's about producing. But guess what? The quality of your inputs determine the quality of your outputs, right? And sometimes you're just going to be the consumption. Sometimes it's just on your phone scrolling on Instagram, and we are not very aware of what we are consuming in there, right? We might just be consuming I'm doing here air quotes, like trash, right? And what's gonna come out is not gonna be the goodness, right? What we call hashtag golden boulders. Ooh. And I'm looking now at the moments that I've been stuck, and I realize it's because I've stopped that learning, right? I stopped reading the book that I was reading for a few days, or I got complacent with certain things and I stopped doing it. So that is such an important key right there. And thank you so much. The other thing that I think it flew a little bit under the radar in the previous comment that I want people to understand as well, and it goes hand in hand with the minimal viable production that you put on at first, is that you said the production came after, right after a few episodes, I started building my production. And we always tell people, quality of the message over quality of the production. Because yes, it looks amazing, and we all want to have the nice, dandy quality content that we can put out there. But guess what? If our message doesn't resonate with the person on the other side, they're going to either change the channel, go look for somebody else, and they're going to forget about you. It is so much more important to dive into your message, be passionate, like you said, be passionate about what you're talking about, share about that, learn how to share and communicate your thoughts, and eventually the production is going to catch up to that and is going to look nice and dandy. So
dude, my friend, I've got a friend, her name's Danelle Delgado. She's a very good friend of mine, a mentor of mine. Danelle does a show called Friday Night Live on Facebook. She has done Friday Night Live every Friday for like 6 years.
Wow.
Dude, it is her and a cell phone. And then she has another cell phone. She has another cell phone that she like plays a little bit of music at the start of each one. She's like, do, 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 do. Okay, all right, everybody get in here. And that's it, dude. It's her and a cell phone. She has built, her business is now doing like 15 million a year.
Wow.
Off of this Friday Night Live with a stinking cell phone, brother. Like,
wow.
I like the production stuff because that's kind of like my jam. Like, I like it. I enjoy telling stories a certain way, but it definitely is not a requirement in any way, shape, or form. I can have the greatest production in the world, but if my content doesn't hit, and really it's not even about my content being great. It's like you mentioned earlier, which some of the audience might have went a little bit under the radar. But you mentioned earlier the connectivity of the content, that the audience has to connect with it. You said that somebody can have a great masterclass, but if you don't feel connected to it, then it's not the best masterclass, right? It's the one where you're held accountable, where you really feel inspired and connected to that person that's speaking. And so Danelle is a master at connectivity. That's what she's been able to build her business off of, is she connects with her people like on a deep level. You better watch out, dude. Talk bad about Danelle Delgado. Watch out. They'll come take out your kneecaps. They are not playing.
I'm about to go check out that show, Friday Night Live. We're gonna have to check it out.
I know. That's
yeah. I'll tell her to come do you guys' show too. You want to interview her. She's amazing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Should we do it on Friday? No, I'm kidding. Anyways,
Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon live.
I recently was listening to the show Business Wars. I'm not sure if you heard that show, but they go through a series of episodes, and they had the late night talk show wars, basically. So tonight show, late night show, whatever, and the whole politics of all of that. So and now I'm like, I want to go talk to her, because that might have been an inspiration for her. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But it was incredible, like how these networks started publishing, and all the thing that goes around this production. When in today's day and age, we have the accessibility, and it's so frictionless to go out and share our message and create such an impact, right? We don't have to be on these networks that we used to. FONZI has that term, that the tiny timeline, that shows a huge opportunity. That's hilarious, the presentation that we did on that, but it shows that, right? And today, people like you, Glenn, and like her, and like many others, right, are creating this impact with your voice, with your message. And like you said, tools do not matter. They help at some degree, at some point. And like you said, if you enjoy it, sweet. Like for us, our team has been like on us to get a better camera. They're like, guys, please do it, right? We can do so much more. I'm like, okay, well, that adds friction to our operation. We just want to go out and execute, right? Like there's a process that the show has to follow for us to be able to do this, right? If that adds friction, then we're going to stop, and then everything stops. And we don't want things to stop, so we got to continue executing.
Actually, when we started, we were about to, we had this idea driving our parents down to the airport. We're from Venezuela, South America, and we're driving them down. And we were like, what if we start a podcast? Like, all the cool people have a podcast. We should start a podcast too, right?
Because we're cool people?
At this, maybe, I don't know. Or we were, cool wannabes. But, at this point, our business didn't have like a focus either. We were like all over the place. Yeah. So we decided to invest in the equipment that you see today, right? We're like, if we invest, we're going to do it. There's no other way, right? So we invested in the mics. We have the Roadcaster here. And at that moment, we're doing a 30-day challenge. So the idea was, watch the 30-day challenge, then do a recap as a podcast. But guess what? We wanted it to have the massive quality production. So we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we set up 2 video cameras, a light, because I was doing videography at the moment. And just setting up everything took us about an hour every single time that we were trying to record, right? Second, it was in my room. So the bed was like right in the middle of the bedroom. Every time my girlfriend would go home, she's like, what are you guys doing in here? I was like, I promise, babe, it's a podcast.
It's not a porn set.
It's a podcast. Nope. And the other thing, we were recording now at like 12 p.m. and we decided to call the show Brews and Bros, right? And it was so much friction. We recorded 4 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. We've never edited any of the 4 episodes because the cameras had a 20-minute timer because they're DSLRs. So we had to, in the middle of the episode, get up, press record on the other one, and then get up on the other one. And we have to stitch things. Such a pain, so much friction that we never got to publish anything. We stored the equipment in the closet for a year. 1 full year before we actually got it to take out again and start doing the show again. And when we started it, we're like, how can we remove all friction? Let's just do it live. We have a webcam. We can plug this, fortunately, USB, to the computer, and that's it. We just remove the whole friction, and now we are in episode 161. So
Oh, you got emotional there, bro.
no,
No,
I think I forgot to breathe.
That's awesome, man. Episode 161, which adds up to 8, like you said earlier. But that's impressive, man. You're right, dude. Remove the friction and let's go, right? Let's go. 100%. I'm with you.
So, Glenn, obviously, I mean, this has been just a gem of an episode. Thank you so much for sharing your message. Where
the time just flew by, bro. That's awesome.
I know. It's like, well, what? We're like part 2 at some point, please, for sure. So I'm just gonna extend the invitation, put you on the spot. So whatever, you don't have to answer right now. You can answer after.
Yeah, no. The answer's no.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good, guys.
No, I'm just kidding, man. Of course, man. Of course. I'd love to hang out with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So
before we leave, I do have a question.
We're not leaving. We have 2 more questions.
Yeah, well, before the 2 questions.
Come on.
Before the 2, we've got a third. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Glenn, what are those signatures in the back? Are those people that go and record live in your place with you?
So these are just anybody that's visited my studio. So Rise and Grind members, people that have supported me over the years, and they'll anybody they'll be passing through Kentucky, they'll stop by, we'll take a photo, I give them the silver pin, and they sign the wall. So everybody up on the wall is mentors, coaches, supporters, people that have bought products. They swing by to buy a product. I'm like, you gotta sign the wall, come on, get on in here, because I want everyone to feel like a freaking superstar. That's why we do what we do. And so I give them a silver pin, and my camera guy comes in, and we snap a bunch of photos, and they feel like freaking, J-Lo or Jay-Z, right? They feel like one of those J's when they're in my office. And so that's what we created that space for, is to be able to allow people to feel like $1 million, man.
That's awesome. I love it. Just so you know, like the one that says taco has been like calling me all interview. I'm like, who signs us taco? That is so cool.
That is Sarah Ball. Her name is Sarah Ball. She's a Rise and Grind member, been with us a little over a year. Her life has completely transformed since she became a part of our group. She was living overseas. Long story short, she moved over here to the States. And the Rise and Grind family has taken her and her boys in and supported her in everything that they do. And she's just a rock star. Like, she's a rock star without putting her name up there. So she's just phenomenal.
That's amazing. I love how you are so caring about your community, man. And the few episodes that I've heard, you're calling out the names of the people that are tuning in, and some of them you remember, like certain things that they've shared with you. And I think that is so, so important. And it's a piece that so many people miss, which is care about the person on the other side, right? Is that what's in it for them. And you are the perfect example for that.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I'll when it comes to that, I'll tell people this, like, if you're creating a podcast for yourself, like, so you can hear yourself talk, like back in the day, they used to call that crazy. They would put you in a straitjacket. Like, if you were just sitting there talking to yourself, now we call it podcasting, but you're supposed to talk to someone, talk to an audience, man. Pretend like there's someone on the other line, even when there's not. And one extra little tip that I'll give, just since we're on these notes, is remember that most people listen to podcasts by themselves. I have not seen, maybe they exist, but I have yet to be invited to a podcasting party. Hey guys, let's all go hang out at the house and listen to a podcast. I've never heard that, right? Like, people listen to a podcast when they're by themselves. So when you're speaking to the audience, let me rephrase that. When you're speaking to, I guess that's the way I'm trying to rephrase that. Don't speak to an audience. Speak to that one individual that's on the other side listening, because they're listening by themselves. Nothing I hate more, especially like on a Facebook Live. You go on a Facebook Live and somebody's like, okay, so hey guys, how's everybody? We're gonna wait for a few more people to get in here. And I'm like, I'm not waiting for nothing. Am I not enough for you? Why do you need more people? And who's guys? I'm here all by myself. It's me. I'm on the toilet right now, all alone. There's no you guys around. Talk to me, dude. Talk to me. Singular.
Yes.
Just me. That's how you create connection.
Yeah, but
Oh,
by
I
the way,
love it.
guilty of that. So from today on, Fonzie, new bar has set in the show. We cannot say that. So we got to control that because
Yeah.
we've identified ourselves as some, and it became a habit, right? It does become a habit. It's like one
It
of those
does.
things that comes out, right? So yes, thank you so much. So that's our homework for sure. And for everybody out there too, like same for you listening, for you.
There it is.
Habit
Yes,
starts,
good
habit
job.
starts now. For you, this is the habit that you need to build. Oh, so good. Okay.
Dude, it's a game changer. I'm telling you, even when you write your post, if you write your post to one person instead of to group, you get far more engagement.
No.
Mm. Talk to one.
Talk
I
to
love
one.
it.
Talk to one.
I have this shirt, Glenn, that is 1-to-1 ratio, pretty much. And the meaning behind it is actually what the 1-to-1 ratio of consuming and creation, right? Like as I'm consuming, I'm creating as well. But now you're just giving it another meaning. Is the one relationship that you should have when creating that content.
That's it, brother. That's it. I love that.
All right, Glenn. So to wrap up, well, before the last two questions, this can be quick. How do you feel when you do all this, man? How do you feel?
Oh, it's awful, man. It's the worst thing ever. It's bro, it's such a gift, man. I am so grateful that we live in 2021. And you know, again, not to like, I'm a spiritual person, all right, and I want to be clear with you, the listener, even if you're not necessarily like a follower of Jesus or Christianity, totally cool. Like I love you 100%. However, I am also a student, and the best-selling book of all time is the Bible. And that book has sold 3.6 billion copies. Okay. To give you an idea of the second best-selling book is the Harry Potter series. They come in at 700 million. Okay. 700 million versus 3.6 billion. So even if you don't like take the spiritual stuff side out or the religious side out, you should read this book. Clearly it's impactful, right? And so when I study the most successful human in history, this guy named Jesus, when I study him and I watch what he had to go through in order to get an audience of 20 or an audience of 40, right? He'd have to get up, dust off his sandals, put on a dirty robe, jump on a donkey or a camel or something, right? Travel through the desert, face starvation and people like ready to kill him or beat him or hang him or whatever. He would hit dust storms and climate and attack of savage animals, right? And he would do this for miles and miles and miles to be able to get to a small little village, to have an audience of 30 people so that he could share a message of hope. And here we are in 2021, where I don't even have to be wearing pants right now in my air-conditioned unit, where I can literally just push a button and I have an opportunity to reach 7 billion people on this planet. What a gift. So you ask, how do I feel when I do this? I feel so grateful. So grateful to live in a time where it has never been easier to inspire, to motivate, to share, to encourage, to educate, to really make an impact in other people's lives. Straight gratitude, bro, all the way through my core.
I love it. And that is such a important trait that I've seen across the board on successful people is gratitude, right? And it just, back to that topic of flying under the radar, I think it flies under the radar of a lot of people. And it's simple, man, taking the time every day to be grateful.
Yeah.
That's it.
I want to take this moment to say thank you to MD, Mohammed, Cleopatra. They're tuning in and they're from Bangladesh, all over the place, man. Your community is incredible. Thank you guys so much for your kind words. Terrific show, inspires. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you. Exactly. I'm naming. Come on, Fonzie. Give me a break here. Man, yeah. So again, thank you, Glenn. Last two questions. Favorite questions about everything. What is one action point for that entrepreneur that is starting to transition from being a consumer to a creator, to create that impact? What is something that they can do today to get that momentum wheel going?
I'll give you two things real quick. I'll make them fast. Okay. The first thing is there's an equation that you need to know. And that equation it's 3 parts, okay? So frequency plus proximity equals affinity. Not infinity, affinity. AFFINITY. All right. So what this means is the more frequent you and I can interact, the closer in proximity of those interactions, as long as the interaction is positive, you will begin to like me more. Period. Hands down. There's no way around it. It's psychology, right? So if you and I decide we're going to go, if I could decide to go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6:30 in the morning, and I go work out, and that's the same time that you work out, the workout itself creates a positive endorphin in me. I don't know you from Adam for the first few weeks, but naturally I will start to associate the positive association with you, and I will start like giving you head nods in the morning, and then head nods become good mornings, and good mornings become high fives. And then we figure out, what do you do for a living? We start talking about kids, and 6 months later we're spotting each other and we're like workout partners, right? We're the same thing happens at work. We don't know people in the beginning, but over time they become lifelong friends, relationships. We get married, whatever, all that stuff. It's because frequency plus proximity equals affinity. Online or with your podcast, if you can increase your frequency, the amount of interactions that we have, you can make those close in proximity, which you can't get any closer than this right here. Okay.
Yeah.
It's super close, right? The people that watch my show, by the way, I have a very intimate relationship with them because they take me places they would not take their spouse. They take me with them in the bathroom. They take me with them in the shower. They take me with them everywhere, right? So proximity, we got that. Frequency, keep showing up. And the key is to make sure it's always positive. It has to be a net positive, all right? If you're showing up frequently and you're close in proximity and you're an a-hole, then no, I'm not going to like you more. So make sure it's a net positive. So that's the first thing you need to know. Frequency plus proximity equals affinity. The second thing you need to know is there's 4 P's to creating great content. You're going to want to make sure that you, whether it's posting online or whether it's what you create in your podcast, but you want to make sure that you show the personal side of yourself. You want to make sure you show the professional side of yourself. You want to make sure that you deliver purposeful content. And purposeful means make me laugh, make me cry, make me feel something, as long as it's positive. Don't make me feel negative, but make me feel something. Make me laugh, make me cry, motivate me, inspire me, or whatever. And then the fourth is a poll, which means basically ask a question. So it's 4 P's, right? Personal, professional, purposeful, poll. Those are the 4 P's of generating incredible content online. Now, the last one, you don't necessarily have to use a poll feature like Facebook has a poll feature. You don't have to do that. It just means ultimately ask a question so that you and I can interact. Don't just talk to me. Give me an opportunity to talk to you so that I can feel like I add value. So online, all I've ever done on Facebook, Instagram, everything is I just rotate personal post, professional post, purposeful post, poll. Personal post, professional post, purposeful post, poll. That's all I did for the first couple of years of my social media, and it blew up, dude. It blew up my engagement. So you pair those two together, frequency plus proximity equals affinity plus the 4 P's. Stay consistent with it. You'll be a rock star before you know it.
Man,
I love it.
Pure fire. Pure fire.
Yeah. This is what we call hashtag golden boulders right
yes.
here. They're bigger than golden nuggets and better.
We've been requested by some people that a shirt that says "I got golden boulders." If you say yes, we can send one to you. Well, we have to make them first, but it's gonna happen. So we're taking a poll. Like, would you like a golden boulder shirt? Anyways, so
I would love a shirt that says "I drop golden boulders."
Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that.
I want to say I have golden boulders. I think that my skin's a little golden. That might get
a little misleading.
Yeah, I like it. I like the drop in there.
It's so good.
Glenn, that first equation that you shared, it reminds me of something that we share as well. We say consistency is art, right? And art is an acronym for authority, relevancy, and trust. But I love the way how you put it as an equation of, frequency and a positive proximity, right? And that interaction being positive creates that affinity. And then the 4 elements of content are just absolutely gold. And yeah, I want to invite you, the listener, to write them down. If you need to go back a few minutes and listen to it again, do it again, write them down, and then go to your social media and ask yourself if you're doing the right thing right now.
Yes. Glenn, to wrap up, boom. we need.
I love how you spoke directly to your listeners. We are great students.
I appreciate it. I was going to say, we have a great teacher here today with us.
Glenn, last question to wrap up the show is, where will you be if you did not publish?
Where would I be if I didn't publish?
Yes.
Well, I would be, it's not really a bad place. It's interesting. I would be at a car dealership in Paris, Kentucky, called Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick, the second largest used car franchise dealership in America. I would still be there. I was the general manager of that store. I was making great money. And, my wife and I had our 7 kids. We've got 8 now. And, to be honest with you, I could have lived that life for the rest of my life. I loved my job. I loved my boss. I loved everything about it. However, once I felt the tug and I knew what I talked about earlier, like, dude, if Jesus could go through all that and look at the impact he made on me 2,100 years later, what am I doing sitting over here in this comfy, cozy, position? Like, dude, I can help a lot of people. Yeah. And I have to take responsibility for that. I've been given the opportunity and I got to take responsibility for it. So if I would have never done that first episode, I'd still be there. Nobody would know my name, and I'd be slinging cars and making an impact in my community. And now I'm making an impact across the planet. And that's the difference.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
It really put things into perspective.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Where can people tune into your show?
Everywhere, bro. Google Glenn Lundy. I'm everywhere, dude. You can't get away from me.
we're gonna put all the links right in the description.
No, just go to GlennLundy.com. Everything at GlennLundy.com connects to all my social media feeds, everything. So you can just go to my website, and I would love to connect with I'd love to connect with you. It'd be amazing.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Any last thoughts, Fonzie?
No, I'm just thankful. It has been an incredible pleasure. Thankful to you, Glenn, for coming here and sharing, dropping the golden boulders. Thank you, the listener, for sticking here with us and learning as well. And I want to challenge the people, right? Because if we're not learning, we cannot produce content if we're not learning. So today, I'm sure you guys learned something. Well, sorry, I'm sure you learned something. So I want you to share what you learned in social media and tag us at BIZBROS and tag Glenn as well. Glenn, what is your Instagram so they can tag you?
Instagram is Glenn_Lundy.
Perfect.
Sweet.
There we go.
All
Just tag him everywhere.
Glenn, any last thoughts before we say bye-bye?
Thank you. Incredibly grateful for sharing this space and time with me. There's a trillion places you could have been on this planet, and you chose to spend it with me. And I am just completely honored that you made that choice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, guys. All right, you. Come on, we got this. Thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and follow the show at BIZBROS on social media everywhere too. I'm just super confused. It's fine.
It's okay. Fine. If you find today's episode impactful, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye.